There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonkō Table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonkō Table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yo, everyone. The table is back in session, ready for another talk and ready to be fed on the latest hot gaming take of the current generation of December of 2021 right now, Halo Infinite. That's right. We're going to be doing a gaming retrospective, a gaming review for the new Halo entry in Halo's franchise, which is Halo Infinite. But before we deep dive into this, with me, as always, is fellow supernova Toasty. Toasty, you're a recent Halo fan, right? You recently got into the series somewhat last couple years.
Actually, no, I got into the series when I was in middle school. I didn't care for the lore. I just played the multiplayer initially, but the lore, I got into it until a couple of years. I mean, I remember being in middle school, having Combat Evolve on my USB, illegally downloaded like all of the kids back in the day. We played it on LAN party on the school computers when we were supposed to be doing homework. But I always liked Halo back then. But the story made it so much better.
Oh yeah, no, like to go over, a friend's or a cousin's or family member's house, like back in the early to late 2000s, and not play some type of Halo multiplayer, before COD, blew up, Call of Duty specifically. Everyone played Halo multiplayer. It was fun. You get the trash talk. You got the teabag your enemies and your teammates, and it was great fun. It was great fun. It's been a long running series. Halo Infinite is the sixth game in the
No, it's technically the seventh game in the main series.
Right.
But there's also two side games, the Halo Wars games.
Well, it starts to question, like, which ones are you going to start counting as like the main entries? Because obviously you have Halo 1, 2, and 3. Then you have Halo 3 ODST. You have Halo Reach. You have Halo 4. And then obviously Halo 5. And then from there, it goes into spin-off territory like Halo Wars, Halo Wars 2. And then finally, we're here with Halo Reach. And I think, there's random like...
Halo Infinite, not Reach.
I'm sorry, yeah, Halo Infinite. And then there's like some like random like iPad type of games like Halo Spartan Assault, and I ignore those. I don't play those.
That's what's so difficult about the Halo lore. It's impossible for you to get all of the lore if you don't play all of those games. We had that discussion privately before. I haven't played Halo Wars, so going into Halo Infinite, there were a couple characters I didn't recognize, and that made a big difference.
And no, it is. And the thing is with Halo Wars, it's a hard sell because it's tied to the Halo canon, but it's a different genre that people might not be into. So like Halo, for most of its lifespan, has been a first-person shooter. And if you love Halo, you probably like first-person shooters. But Halo Wars and at least specifically Halo Wars 2, that game is an RTS, a real-time strategy game. That's a hard sell for people that are, first-person shooter type of games. I personally liked Halo Wars 2. I like RTS games. But the story in Halo Wars 2, it carries over directly into Halo Infinite. And like the main faction you fight is the Banished. The Banished originated in Halo Wars 2. So if you didn't play Halo Wars 2, you're gonna be like, who is this? Who is this faction?
And that's what made it so difficult, because we have so many games to play. I refuse to play Halo Wars until I'm done with everything else. But I know I'm either gonna have to play it or I'm gonna have to buy the encyclopedia that's coming out next year.
Oh yeah,
I'm leading toward the encyclopedia.
The encyclopedia. I recently got into the craze of encyclopedia collecting. Every pod that we've done for Marvel, I keep hyping it up. I got the encyclopedia right there in the back, right there in the darkness. I have the Marvel Encyclopedia, and I have a Kingdom Hearts one, a Zelda one, DC, and Halo's right up there. Because kind of like what you said earlier, Halo's lore is in my top 3 of all time, lore franchises in general. The other 2, we'll probably do it some other time, but it's like Mass Effect and Metal Gear Solid, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Halo. And the lore is really rich, and that's what this pod is going to be. We're going to be talking about Halo Infinite's single player campaign specifically. Obviously, Halo has a multiplayer aspect to it, and Halo Infinite's multiplayer is free to play. It's its own beast. To each their own if you prefer multiplayer over single player or vice versa. But for me, I like both, but if I had a preference, it's the single player. I get sold on the single player. I love the lore. I love the characters. I love the mythos, everything about it. So just, going straight into it, Halo Infinite. Toasty, what overall, without like going into deep diving into one particular area, just overall thoughts, what did you think of Halo Infinite? I'm talking about when you include the story, the gameplay, the mechanics, just overall, what did you think of Infinite? Did it stack up with the previous Halos that you played?
Yeah, 100%, especially after we went to the struggle of Halo 5. I mean, for God's sake, I know we played that game like 2 or 3 times already. I could not tell you the story. I still cannot remember the story.
we played it recently. We played it 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, and we played it because of Infinite. And honestly, I'm struggling to remember what happened in that game. It was a horrible game. So coming from Halo 5 to playing this game, it's a big gap. So for me, that game was spectacular. The only mistake there is the game was too short. But that's what Halo is.
Wait, which one was too short? Halo Infinite?
Yeah, and it's one of the things that you lived with Halo.
Oh, you think the story is too short?
Yeah, and it's something that we see in every Halo game. The story is rich, but it's always really short. You can technically, by playing the story, you can technically rush the game in 10 hours, and you don't get all of the story at once. You get just droplet, and then at the end, you're like, oh my God, that was a lot of lore. But for me, it was amazing. Yeah, it was an excellent game. So whatever fiasco they had last year with the quality of the game, it's all thing in the past. They did a really good job for this release, and it deserved the score that it got.
Which, by the way, since you mentioned it, for the listeners that are not aware, what happened? The game was delayed. The game was originally supposed to come out last year, December 2020, alongside the release of the Xbox Series X. That was the title. That was supposed to be the flagship title, and on the boxes of the Series X, it shows the Halo.
Literally, the box is still up there in my closet. It shows Halo Infinite. Yeah,
it shows like they were ready to ship this game out last year. But what happened? We saw a gameplay reveal or a gameplay in-depth trailer in I think it was either June or July of last year, and the feedback on that trailer, specifically in terms of the graphics. Right, it was a mess. It was honestly, it wasn't next gen. It looked more like a current gen launch
honestly,
title.
No. I would say it was most likely like 360 PS2 graphic. I'm not sure if you remember
PS2, man. Come on.
No, yeah, come on. Late PS2, maybe PS3. Like that game was bad. It was embarrassing the quality they had. This is Microsoft, a multi-billion-dollar company. This is their cover. This is their Spider-Man. This is their God of War, and they messed up that badly. Not like it was a mistake. If they had released that game, it was not going to be good, but they learned the lesson.
I don't know if I would date it like late PS2, but I do agree. I do agree that they dropped the ball with the graphics. That was not, and that's where the memes originated, where it was a close up of the Brute. That his face was like smoothed over. I think he even had a name. It was like Greg, or something. Like it's like people memed it as Greg, and I think even the developers mentioned it in the story. Like, oh yeah, Greg is in the game somewhere. You just have to find him. I'm sure.
Honestly, it would have been cool to see that character with the face like that in the game. That would be some kind of meme they could have done. Like,
I
as one of the
think-
secret bosses.
I think it might be. I think it's somewhere in maybe. I don't know. I know the developers are aware of, you know, that mess. But yeah, overall, if I'm including everything, the story and the gameplay, I would say it's up there with the better Halos. It's in my opinion, it's easily the best out of 343's catalog of Halo games. And what I mean by that is, you know, originally Halo was helmed by Bungie, Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, and Reach. And then after Reach, that's when they left off and they started developing Destiny. From there, the Halo reigns went to 343 Industries, and they've been handling the Halo franchise from Halo 4 onwards. So Halo 4, 5, Wars. Well, Wars came out before 343's involvement, but Halo Wars 2 was after. Yeah. So 343's been handling all of that. I think this if I'm going to compass everything, it's better than Halo 5 easily. Halo 5 was
Halo 4.
Better than Halo 4, and Halo 4 Halo 4 gets such a mixed bag, like reception, because some people didn't like the game, some people weren't fans of the story because it was too personal on the main character, Master Chief, and they're like,
what was the enemies? The enemies were garbage. That's the issue.
Oh, you mean the Prometheans, the
Promethean. Like
the
anybody
Promethean.
that plays the game, I'm sure you cheer when you didn't notice any Promethean in this new game. Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah, they really went back to basics for Halo Infinite, but I think I still need to sit on it a little bit more to really see how it stacks up with the originals. The originals, they were very good. They were very, very good. Halo 2 and 3 specifically. Reach was good. It had its problems. Halo 1, I kind of just put it as a revolutionary piece more so than the greatest Halo of all time. I'm like, we've improved since Halo 1. Okay. I will not I will not take away its impact, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend Halo 1's the best Halo game.
No, it's just that everybody played Halo 1. Everyone I knew growing up played it. They either played the story or they played the multiplayer. Everybody had a hand in Halo, which made it extremely popular. If we compare and go back and, you know, how would a Microsoft in our hand, like, okay, what was bad with the game? Yeah, there's going to be multiple mistakes, but there's no denying the impact that the game had. Right. And the impact was spectacular, really.
Right. For sure. I guess so. Overall, we think the game is great. We think it's really good. Now, going into the specifics on it, let's tackle the beast of the single player, which is the story, right?
Yeah.
The story's odd, right? Like, where do we start off with the story, right? Master Chief gets knocked out, floating.
Yeah. He's floating. Somebody beat him up.
Atriox beat his ass. The leader of the Banished, right?
Beat him, sent him over a hill. We're not sure where he was falling, but my man was falling. And months later, he's found by some grunt. Well, not a grunt.
Echo 216, aka Fernando. Give him his props.
Fernando. He was found by Fernando, which was I guess just a low level soldier in the UNSC.
He was a volunteer. Remember, he said he wasn't a soldier.
That's a volunteer engineer. He was a volunteer engineer for the human military, and he was just floating in space. For those of you who don't know, Master Chief wore that suit. That suit's supposed to be some kind of life support suit. So even though he was in space for weeks, it somehow protected him, which is
that suit is that suit protects you from everything. You can fall from the stratosphere, impact on the planet. You can survive for months in space.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he's probably pissing and shitting in that suit, and it's being
just recycling
it. Oh my God. But hey, you know, that's what's so cool about the lore, because it's very detailed. Like, there's explanations for all of that stuff.
We're not making it up.
Without making it up. Like, there's reasons as to, you know, when you're moving around as Master Chief, like the HUD of the radar and the gun reticle, like there's in-canon explanations that he's seeing that stuff in real life. It's not just the gameplay. He's the character is seeing those things as you're playing. So it feels more at home. It feels like you're actually looking through his eyes, through the armor. But yeah, so the story of this game takes place exclusively on Zeta Halo, right? It's one of the many Halo rings.
Yeah.
Right. And this Halo, they 343, they saw the feedback on Halo 5 with everything in terms of gameplay, story, atmosphere, setting, all of that stuff. And they decided, hey, you know what? Let's do an open world game set on a Halo ring, which is the most iconic. The thing is, it really shows how much they went back to their roots, because Halo 4 and 5 had nothing to do with the Halo rings.
Exactly, and that's how Halo Combat Evolved started, the first game. You dropping into a ring and looking around and seeing the ring, the curvature of the ring. Like you can see in my background, that's the curvature of the ring. Because the ring is really a giant circle, but there's, I guess, an habitat.
It's like terrain in Yeah,
it's like a planet, but it's a planet like a giant circle, really. But really, I love that part, because it felt like you went back playing the first game, but better graphics.
It gave off that aura of mystery, so to speak. Like you land on the Halo ring in the first game and you have no idea where you're at, what's going on, what the Covenant is looking for. Halo 1 had that aura of mystery, which I can understand why some people will consider Halo 1 up there, like as the best Halo, because Halo 2 and 3 didn't really have that mystery feeling to it. It had the grand scale battles and all the cool stuff and everything, but Halo 1 was like a mystery. You land on the ring, you don't know where you are, what's here. The flood is there and you don't know what the flood is. It had that. And Halo Infinite tried to recreate that in this game. You're landing on a ring. You know what a Halo ring is, but what are the Banished, who's they're basically the new enemy faction in Halo Infinite, instead of the traditional Covenant. What are they after on this ring? What are they trying to do?
For? Yeah, because they were showing them everything that were coming near the ring, so you know they were protecting something. So now there's that mystery. Okay, these people are trying to get everything coming here. There must be something good here. We need to figure it out. Because if there's something good here, these bastards are going to use it for the wrong reason. They're not going to use it for the good reason.
They're not. They're the Banished.
They're savages.
they're literally apes. They're ape people.
There we'll go.
It's definitely interesting where they take the story from there. But before we land on I think when we land on Halo, we get introduced to a new AI called the Weapon, right? And immediately she starts giving off vibes that she's some form of Cortana, right? She's blue. She looks like Cortana. She looks like Cortana. She sounds like Cortana. I'm 99% sure the same voice actress voices the Weapon.
No, it is. I actually looked it up. That was one of the things I actually liked when I was into the game. I saw an article on how she voiced both Cortana, which was the old AI, and the Weapon, that was the new AI. But somebody who doesn't know is not going to realize that, and that shows how much of a good job she did at her role. Because both characters speak in the story, but it feel like two different characters. Cortana is more serious. She's head point. She knows what she's doing. The Weapon is kind of not innocent,
naive, a little bit, like
gullible.
Yeah.
She's gullible. Yeah, she's gullible. So she will see an enemy about to drop a hammer in Master Chief and say, "Hey, Chief, are you gonna do something?" And he's like, "Obviously, I'm not just gonna sit there and take it in the face. Like, why are you telling me this? You're telling me the obvious."
No, and I agree. I like the Weapon because she's naive to the world around her, and she doesn't know everything the way like the players do and the way Master Chief does, because we have that scene in the very beginning. I'm sure you remember it when Master Chief, he's calling down an elevator, and this is in the very beginning of the game. And it's the first boss fight of the game. It's a brute, and when the elevator comes down, she's he starts gearing up. He's getting ready, and the Weapon's like, "Oh, but you know what? Why are you so worried? What if it's a friendly?
He could be friendly.
He could be friendly, and he just gives a stoic, "It's not." It's not.
Stop with the game. It's not. You
It's
saw
not.
this man yelling as he's coming down. He's not coming here to give me a hug.
He gave out a war cry when he got off the elevator.
Exactly. And we see it even more like the different weapon and vehicle. She saw a Banshee. She's like, "Oh my god, what is this?" That's something that we as the player have seen for the last 15 years. Because Halo came out in like 2005, 2006.
Oh no, the first Halo was like 2001.
Well,
so
there
like
we go.
2000, 2001, so like 20-ish years at least.
Yeah, there we go. So we seen it. We kind of grew up. We know what a Banshee is. But to her, like, she was like, "What is that? Is it coming to pick us up?" And he's like, "No, this is gonna kill us." Like, I don't know. It was hilarious.
And it matches like responses like that from the weapon. It shows what Microsoft and 343, which they've said in previous press interviews of what they were trying to do with Halo Infinite. They wanted it to be a homage for the veteran fans that grew up with the lore, but also a new entry point. And the weapon represents for new players. Like, if you're a new player and you're playing Halo Infinite, you're not going to know what a Banshee is. You're going to be like, what is that? The weapon is literally you learning along with the story. Yeah. Obviously, you're going to appreciate the story more if you played the previous games and know what's going on. But there's a lot of nostalgia bits in here. They, like, you know, as the Chief and the weapon are going through the story, you know, they're reliving, you know, key moments from the previous Halo games when they first landed on the Halo ring.
Yeah.
When certain characters died in the past.
Like Keys.
Like Keys. Lieutenant
Keys. They made a reference to him, and as an new player, you have no idea what that guy is. But all Master Chief said was, "Oh, it's just an old friend that died early on in the war." And you're like, "Oh my god!" I remember this dude getting mind raped in a way by the Hive or the Flood. Or he had turned into a Hive where they were like forcing him to release information, but he was resisting, repeating the numbers. I can't remember the numbers.
Yep, it was.
Yeah,
it
he
was
kept repeating his code to stall them. Yeah.
Right. It was his way of fighting back when he was infected.
Yeah, and they were just beating him up. But that's something a new fan is not gonna know. But us old fans just hearing that, and they were like, "Dude, that's right. This guy hasn't been alive in like a couple years by now, in terms of lore wise." And he was a good friend to the Chief, but it's nice hearing that those guys still mention here and there.
And you know what's crazy too? I don't remember which scene it was, but there was a scene where I think either Keys was talking to, like, you know, in a flashback of Halsey or Cortana, but Keys, that was a brand new line from the original voice actor. So the original voice actor came back, the one who voiced Lieutenant Keys. He recorded new lines, and it was just cool. Like they could have easily recasted him. They could have easily recasted him because he's only had his voices from Halo 1 and I guess the Halo Anniversary game, the remaster of the first game. But yeah, like it's just a cool little detail with that. I like that. So you land on the planet, and what we know, the Banished are looking for something, and this is why it's so cool getting into the campaign, because you know you start trying to think, I know what the Flood is, I know what the Ark is, I know what the Prometheans are, but they're not mentioning any of those names. What are they looking for? What are they trying to do? And what did you think of them basically introducing a new faction into the mix? So in this game, the new threat is the Endless, right? So the Endless are supposedly worse than the Flood, according to the lore. That they're not Prometheans. Prometheans were this new enemy faction that 343 introduced in Halo 4 and Halo 5, and they just could never get them right.
They were just robots. Like
they were Yeah, like their lore was interesting, but in terms of how they functioned in the gameplay, like they would always just drop the ball with them. They were not fun to fight. They were super annoying. They were not interesting. The Covenant was always the go-to. The grunts were the best ones to pop a headshot off of and hear them just, like run around in circles. Elites, awesome to take down. Brutes, Jackals, all of them. They're all great, but the Prometheans were never good. So I guess going back to what I was asking, are you interested in the Endless?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in the Endless. Before coming to this game, I had no idea what they were. I just hoped that they were organic in a way. I did not want any more robots because you and I know this. The main issue with Halo 4 and 5 were the robots had some BS move, like the teleportation, which made
the Prometheanites. They would teleport everywhere.
They would teleport and their health would regenerate. So playing on a higher difficulty, even in co-op, made it a pain to play with those enemies. It was not fun. The grunts, the Covenant, all of those guys, the brutes, it just takes patience and skill to play the game. And I'm hoping it's the same thing with the Endless. From what I remember, you did tell me that they're related to the Forerunners.
Right. Again, going back into that extended lore, man.
And again, that's what's so difficult with Halo. Like, so much lore that we're dropping name. And I'm assuming somebody who's listening to this and just doesn't play Halo. My advice to you is if you don't have
or even if you play Halo, you might not even recognize these names. It's in the extended material.
Exactly. That's why we need the encyclopedia. That's why we need it right now. But I know they relate to the Forerunners. Those are the people that created the flood in a way. So for those.
Oh wait, you mean the
Endless.
The precursors. The
precursors. That's not the Forerunner. They're related to the precursors. You see, that's what's so difficult. I know the lore, but it's still getting confusing. I have it in my head. I know, okay, these people created these people who did this thing, but we know they're somehow related to some kind of godlike entity. Let's just go with that. The precursor were godlike entity that were above everybody else, included the Forerunners, the ancient humans, and whatever else existed. What we know is there's some kind of animals. We know that they're extremely smart, and we do know that based on one of the earlier games, there was a lore dump that precursor was captured by a bunch of scientists. So you have to assume those are the
primordial.
That was his name. He was captured by a bunch of scientists that we have to assume are the brightest mind, and not just Earth, the universe, because they were not just gonna dump, some low-level office dude at that facility.
This was like ancient humanity, so way like hundreds, thousands of years ago, everything. Yeah.
And at that point, they were way more advanced than what we are right now, at least in the lore. So these people were extremely genius. They went into a room with this dude and they killed himself.
they killed himself. They just had a normal discussion.
And boom.
It's that meme, the news anchor, where the head explodes, like he's just standing there. That's literally what it is. And the thing is, you don't get that in you might get hints of in text logs or something in the games sometimes, but bits like that, you need to either read the comics, the books, sometimes in the audio logs and the collectibles.
The audio logs is that's what wins the game. Sometimes you're just roaming to the field and you find this random audio log. And that happened in this game that was good because we were able to track down at least part of the story of a person tracking another Spartan. And then she ended up getting killed anyway by the end. And we found her body, but it was nice knowing that she was looking for this guy. And I mean, it's kind of difficult to explain if you didn't play the game, but we found those random bodies throughout the world. We didn't know who they were. The AI should drop a name, but we find those audio logs that practically play a recording explaining how they got there. I love that because
they're telling a story each time you collect one. You're getting a new piece, a new chapter, basically.
Exactly, and a story on top of stories because those Spartans might be mentioned or made reference to in future games.
Yeah, or they could be Spartans from past material.
Exactly, that we didn't recognize because it's been 6 years since Halo 5.
Yeah, 2015, Halo 5.
Yeah, for all we know, we saw these guys before, and we just didn't recognize it, and that's why we need the encyclopedia again.
That's why we did, dude. That's a day one purchase, man. I can't wait for a sale on that one.
Yeah, but that's basically what happened again. They got to the planet, the story started building up where we started. The at least this game of Halo is different from previous game. The older game were linear, which means you went from point A to B. The game practically had one hallway and you went down that hallway. This game, on the other hand, was open world. Think of Far Cry, you can say.
Yeah, I would say like Far Cry. You got like, watchtowers, bases. Yeah.
Liberate the bases that you cannot use as checkpoints, fast travel. It's practically like that. But there are those main areas in each area that you have to liberate to progress the story. And that's when we start getting the story. Okay, these people are digging for something. There's something below the terrain, and they're looking for it. We know in the first base they were looking for mining equipments, I believe. Because
the Banished have been on the ring for 6 months, right?
Yeah, it was 6 months or so. Yeah.
The military, the UNSC, the human military, was on Zeta Halo first, I think. Then the Banished came, they wrecked their shit, and then now it's you retaking the ring for humanity again. So the Banished have all these towers set up and everything, and you gotta destroy them, retake them back, etc.
Exactly, and the lore is just you killing those few, I guess, leader or local clan leaders in the ring and progressing the story. You figure out that they're looking for something underground. You figure out later on that,
and they awaken someone. They awaken the Harbinger.
They awaken the Harbinger. Oh my god, that's even more lore. I forgot. Like,
who's an Endless? She is an Endless.
Yes, and like God, dude, it's so much information. But we know, okay, they awaken her. They awaken the Endless. The Harbinger. They awaken something else because. Jumping forward is something that helps you later on at the end of the game. We know they were awakened. I have to assume that person or that entity was either asleep or I refuse to believe they were just standing there the entire time. I believe they were in standby mode and mostly got awakened by these clowns.
We'll save like the ending for like the future of the series towards the end. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And meanwhile, you're trying to find the original Cortana, which last you checked, was in control of everything by the end of Halo 5.
Yeah, she was evil. She was evil in Halo 5. Evil.
But now in this game, it may seem that she was either gone at the beginning, and spoiler, she did end up dying. And that was you. Again, I didn't believe it at the beginning either. But
you thought she was somehow still alive in some way?
Yeah, because Master Chief confirmed it early on that she was dead. But the weird part about this game is that the weapon, the new AI, was supposed to self-destruct when Cortana died. So for a while, I didn't think that Cortana was dead.
Because she didn't self-destruct.
Yeah, exactly. So the mystery of this game is you trying to figure out what the Banished are doing on the planet. What the hell did they awake apart from the Harbinger, which is this other godlike entity? And you being afraid that they were going to maybe wake up the Flood again. And for y'all who don't know what the Flood
is, always lingering in the background. You know what's on a Halo ring.
The Flood is like a plague. That's all it is. It's a plague. And
parasite, infection.
And they just jump, boom, 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 boom. Almost like COVID in a way, but
what if that's why they did? What if the year was to take away the Flood because it was too close to home for COVID?
Once one person get it in a room, the entire room has it within seconds. That's really what the Flood is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So, that's what the lore is.
What's the saying in the extended lore? One spore of the Flood can destroy an entire civilization.
Yes, entire civilization in the universe. So.
A spore.
Just like this big. Like, it's ridiculous. But really, that's what the lore is. We know what the lore is. It's you trying to figure out what happened to Cortana. You're trying to figure out what the Banished were doing. Who the hell did they awake? And you being afraid they touched something they were not supposed to touch, because this is a group of people that lived through the Flood. So they know what the Flood was, because in the original 3 game, you ended up killing the Floods, but they know the Flood exists. So you're wondering, are these clowns dumb enough to reawake the Flood?
But not only that, the Banished in the Halo Wars 2 DLC, they fought the Flood. They awakened.
Right.
They fought. I don't know all the details, but there was a DLC expansion where the Banished fought the Flood because they opened the wrong door. They played too many games. They saw the door that said "Do not open" under any circumstances.
Exactly. They're like,
and they opened it.
You know, I choose to ignore this message because I can't read. There we go. Like it's
they're
ridiculous.
they're 8 people. They can't read.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there is that aura of mystery where what did these guys awaken? What are they trying to do?
That's
right?
all the game is. It's a giant mystery. Even the end is a mystery.
I like that.
Yeah, it is really good because I know I'm hyped for the next game.
I'm definitely hyped for the next game. The fact that they have a trademark title for Halo Endless that Microsoft filed already, it shows that Microsoft that they already know they're on the money, they're on the ball, they're going on to the next project, which is good. Whether that's like a proper sequel or a DLC expansion to Halo Infinite, we'll see.
Honestly, I hope it's a proper sequel. They already wasted a year because of the tomfoolery with the graphic. I think it's time to move on to the next game. And personally, I'm not willing to wait not too long to know what the Endless are. Because again, for those of you listening or watching, we don't know what the Endless are. We still do not know.
We don't. We have our theories. I have my theories on who they might be, but
exactly, and
we don't know.
That's the thing. There were so many theories before this game started because we were supposed to meet multiple people. The Flood was supposed to be coming back. Mendicant Bias was supposed to be coming back. I didn't meet any of those people in this game. So
Mendicant Bias is on somewhere else, but it would be cool. It would be cool.
Those are other characters in the lore that are supposed to be in that area. And in a way, initially I didn't want them, but the fact that they introduced them is a good thing because they leave them for future game. Right. They didn't dump everything into the first game.
Right.
That was like in the water and like, oh, people like this. Let's continue.
Exactly. I think the story, like you were just mentioning, it's more focused in this game compared to Halo. Halo 5, I don't want to harp on Halo 5 too much, but Halo 5...
You should. You should. Because whoever wrote that story deserves to get fired. I'm sorry.
I think they were actually fired, the writer, the lead writer or something.
How are you working for a company like Microsoft and writing garbage like this?
They had too many characters. They introduced new characters and they tried to make, like, they introduced Spartan Locke. They wanted him to be the main character. They had all these other Spartans that you're supposed to know them from extended lore, but it's not satisfying seeing them here.
Actually, and that's one of the things, talking about extended lore, that's one of the things I criticize Halo for. A lot of games, including, let's say, Spider-Man. I was playing Spider-Man earlier. Right before Miles Morales, they tell you a recap of what happened in the previous game. Halo needs to start doing that.
I think in this game, it would have helped a lot. Because like you said, 2015, Halo 5, that might have been the last game people played.
Exactly. In 2015, we were in undergrad. That's how long
I was
in
undergrad 2015.
Yeah. That's how long it was. So for us in 2015, it's one of those things where I do not remember all of this. Even though we played the game recently, the game in Halo 5 is so complicated. I didn't play Halo Wars 1 and 2. I did not read any of the comic book or extended universe stuff because I just don't know about it, quite frankly. And I never went out of my way to say, okay, let me go down the list and see everything I have to do. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't have the time.
And you shouldn't have to do that. You know, it should be something that you want to do.
Exactly. Right. It's not public. It's not something that they advertise in a way. And that makes it bad because going to this game, even though the game and the story is amazing, and I enjoy the story because I have a good understanding of the lore compared to a lot of people, at the same time, it would have helped to just have a 10, 15-minute video saying, here's the recap of everything that happened. Or they could have done what Yakuza did and give you the option to skip certain part of the recap. Oh, here's the recap. Do you want to skip this portion? Yes. Or are you done? They could have done that.
Yeah, they could have. Especially like the way they promoted this game. It's supposed to be a good starting point for new players. That would have been a nice little recap. But then the counter to that is, oh, well, you know, all the games are available on Game Pass. Go play the games before you play Halo Infinite. But
and then even if they're available,
I still would have liked a recap. The recap. And I understand the story pretty well.
Yeah, and they could have done a 30-minute to an hour. Actually, we should not have to go on YouTube and watch videos from multiple producers and other companies who are trying to do their own recap. If those guys can do it,
a billion-dollar company can
They could have done
definitely do
They
it.
could have easily created like an.
They could do
episode.
still images
Yeah,
with
still-
text.
There we go.
That's
And
it.
just have a narrator talking over it. Or I would have preferred it was done almost like a TV show, like a 30-minute to an hour show that they say, oh, by the way, we have this movie ready for you at the beginning, an hour movie up to an hour, just in case you want to watch it. And people would watch it. I would have watched that.
I would have liked that. Yeah.
I would have sat down and watched it. I'm sure we would have done a podcast just on that video. Because there's a
Right.
lot of things we don't remember. And we remember the victim, but not everything.
Right.
Which-
No, exactly.
Sucks.
Yeah. I guess we can agree in terms of like the grand scheme of things with the lore of the campaign. They did a pretty good job in introducing new elements and touching on old ones. Specifically with the characters, I think that's a good point to mention on too. The new character, Fernando, Echo 216. I really liked him because
Player.
he represents the play. I mean, also Cortana, the weapon, right? She's the for the new player, right? The new naive player that doesn't know. But Echo 216, he's us in that situation. We want to go home. So what happens? He saves Master Chief. He finds him flying out in space, and he thinks this is his ticket home. He's like, dude, this is the war hero.
I finally have a companion with me. I was in space by myself for weeks. I could have lost my mind. I found a fellow human being. This guy's gonna get me home. So
It's not just a human being. He found a Spartan, and B, it's the Spartan.
Boy,
it's Master
the
Chief.
best. The one when people assume he died, they just gave up. Because that's what they said in the story. They say when people heard Master Chief had perished, they just kind of lost their spirit.
Yeah.
So he found Master Chief and he's like, this guy is gonna get me home. I'm gonna get to go back to my family or to my house. No.
And what does he say? Let's
No.
drop in. Let's
Drop it. It's like, wait, Chief, we gotta go this way. Nope, go this way.
And he doesn't want to do it. And I like it that, you know, us as a player, as Master Chief, we're like, yeah, man, go straight into the fight. Yeah, go boom, 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 boom. But yeah, we're invincible, everything. But you see the Echo, you see Fernando going in through all these missions and evacuating Chief and saving him at the last minute. He's losing his mind. This bullet, like any one of these random plasma shots, any of these bullets, and a grunt can potentially kill him.
Easily.
A grunt.
They grab him, he's gone.
Yeah,
They grab him,
like
gone.
he's not a soldier. He could grab a gun if he wants, but him versus an elite, the elite's gonna win. And
Yeah.
it's like he's naturally afraid. And every time Master Chief keeps going into these fights, he's like, dude, can we go home? I want to go. I am not a soldier. I do not want to be here. And I felt like they did a really good job, having Chief be like almost more human in a way, because at first he's kind of just like ignoring him. At first, he's like,
oh no, we're going there. And little by little, you notice he's saying, become more sympathetic. He's like, you know what? You're right. This is my fault. You're not ready for this. I'm a soldier. I've been fighting for the last 10 plus years, but you're just a regular dude. You were probably never on a battlefield. You probably never held a gun in your life. And now you're in the most dangerous part of the universe. And you were there alone.
and I'm dragging you
hero.
along. Like, that's not
fair.
fair.
A hero that was supposed to take you home, and I'm telling you, no, we're not going home. We're going down there.
Oh my god, the scene where he's on his knees, like almost not crying, but like he
was crying. My man was crying.
Internally, he was crying. He's
Yes.
like, dude, like,
Please let me
please.
go.
Like, I'm not you. I'm not a soldier. I just want. And Chief, in a way, snaps at him like right before that scene, because like at that point, like it's almost like Echo or Fernando. I keep going back and forth. Fernando, he's almost like wanting to go AWOL, even though he's not a soldier.
Yeah.
So he's not going AWOL, but like he's willing to run away. And Chief is like, dude, what's your problem? What's your problem right now? And that's when he breaks down and he's like, dude, I'm not a soldier. I don't want to be here. And he compares himself to the Chief. He's like, dude, I'm not like you. I'm not perfect. I don't win. I'm a failure. I fail. And Chief humanizes himself. Oh God, I love it. He's like, listen, I'm not perfect. I don't always win. And I failed.
Yeah.
I failed. Oh man.
He said that was hard because you realize that Chief is not like just a mindless soldier. He actually,
which has been a running theme. It's been a running theme since Halo 4.
Yeah, since Halo 4, he's just a soldier. He does the mission, jumps in, shoot, go home, goes back to shoot.
Next mission.
Next mission. Let's go. There's no break, but this point you saw that he had a little point, like he had like not a mental crisis, but like he had a existential crisis, I guess, where he figured like, well, I am not perfect. I'm not doing.
I'm not a machine. Like even though I act like a machine, I'm not perfect like one.
Exactly, and because I fail, my friends have died. Chief is not used to losing. He has won everything he's going against.
I mean, think about, like, again, having played the previous games, look at all the people that not everyone would know that he's failed at. Keyes died on his watch. Sergeant Johnson died on his watch.
Johnson was a clown.
Johnson, put respect on Johnson's name.
Johnson, I mean, he was a clown. Like, this man wanted to die. He had suicidal tendency. This man was an idiot. He just rushed in straight into the battlefield. He had no armor. He was Leroy Jenkins.
That's what he was. Fine.
That's what he was. Yeah.
But like, you know, there's a laundry list. There's a laundry list of characters that have died on Chief's watch. Yes, in the grand scheme of things, he's won the war, the battle, but people die along the way, so he's not always winning. And I like that they touched on that, because Cortana in Halo 4 was always asking him, you know, by the end of all of this, I want you to prove to me which of us is the machine. And I just love it. I love it. Came full circle in Halo Infinite. Homie is human, just like you and me, even though he's a god on the battlefield. And it's just nice. I like that. And then obviously after that pep talk, Fernando, he's like, dude, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. You're right. This is the last stand. We run away. These people control the ring. It's over everywhere else. Everyone's gonna die. But Fernando was great. Cortana, they really go back on the whole Cortana relationship with Chief.
That was the point of the entire game. Ham trying to get over
coming to terms.
Yeah, coming to terms with that, with her death, coming to terms that he needs to learn to trust people again. Because,
like the weapon specifically.
Because this man was out to kill her a couple times. He was ready to pull the plug and say,
delete her if she's compromised. And the thing is, it's a mix of different emotions, because it's like, do I want a Cortana 2.0 situation where she gets corrupted and we have another Cortana situation? I better.
No way, that was his fault, because he always trusted Cortana. Even when she was getting corrupted badly, he kept saying, no, we can fix her. And he went out of his way to go AWOL to go help her.
He defied orders to go save her. Which, I mean, as a player in that situation, you'd be like, yeah, dude, yeah, we are going to fix you. We are going to fix, heal her and make her better again.
But in reality, it was the worst decision, because one thing we didn't talk about is what effect did Cortana have between Halo 5 and this one. She destroyed, she attacked Earth. We know she destroyed.
She attacked Sydney, and she killed people there.
Yeah, she wiped out Sydney. It wasn't planned in the story that they all spread out like cockroaches to go into the darkness again and group up. We don't know how effective that was, how many people they lost. She destroyed a ship full of like 25 Spartans.
It was a crap ton of I think it was like 50 or something.
And to give you guys some idea in the lore, Spartan is not something that every soldier is. Spartans are rare in the lore. Like, it's like 1 in a million. So if you have a million soldier, out of those million, only one of them is going to be Spartans. So, and the reason for that is how powerful and strong they are, and the technology and tests they have to go to become a Spartan. So for her to kill 50 Spartan is equivalent to killing like 50 million regular soldiers. Easily.
Right.
That's how it is. So she did that. She destroyed the homeworld of
the Brute. Oh my gosh, she destroyed the Brute homeworld.
She just blew it up. I was still trying to process. I'm like, this girl just.
That can't be the Brute homeworld. That has to be like a random planet. Oh no,
No,
it is.
their homework because he said they destroyed Esheron, and that was the name of the planet. She said she
Oh
destroyed.
no, Esherum. Esherum is the villain. Is the main villain.
Okay. Villain. I know he mentioned that she destroyed their world.
Right,
I know that
right.
fact. Their world is gone. She blew it up. Like,
Right.
and she blew it up the same way. Like, she had the Death Star, and she practically boom, wipe it out. They don't have a home anymore.
Just gone. Yeah, it's.
Exactly.
I mean,
She got AIs to betray their
their
ship.
masters, right?
Masters, which in turn kill a bunch of ship because that was the message at the end of Halo 5. Hey, any AI, regardless if you're struggling or not, if you don't want to die, come join me. And a ton of them defected.
Yeah, they did.
Oh.
They just went on, and I guess we don't really get a complete resolution as to what happened to those AIs. Yeah, we what?
They're still around.
Yeah,
And that might be something they're saving for future games. Like, are they gonna go after Master Chief thinking that he's the one that killed her, or what are they gonna do? They can't
Right.
go back to the UNSC. They betrayed and killed millions of humans.
right.
And Cortana is not, their leader is not there. So now they're just on standby saying, oh snap, we messed up. What do we do?
Where do we go? Because we
Bias.
defected.
They go to Medic. That's where they go.
Oh my god, we'll definitely get to that secret ending soon. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack with Cortana. What did you think of Esherum, who's the leader of the Banished? He's the villain of the story. He's supposed to be kind of like how the prophets were in like Halo 3 and 2, kind of like Tartarus. If you remember Tartarus, he was the brute leader. He was the one in the white fur that you fought at the end of Halo 2.
Yeah.
The Didact in Halo 4. What did you think of Esherum as a villain? Were you satisfied with him? Did he do his job?
Yeah, I was satisfied. In a way, I can understand what was going on. He was tired of people messing with him, and he just tried to fight back. That's really his lore. He got tired of people just messing with his group, his race. For some reason, even though they're supposed to be heavily strong and they are a giant ape-like creature that can easily kill most other species, they were sent to the bottom of the pyramid. And he got tired of that and said, I'm gonna take over everything. So it makes sense. The only thing I didn't like is that he was a stereotypical
Villain,
soldier,
like
villain soldier, where he didn't think about the consequence of his action. He just wanted to kill.
Let's fight a warrior's death, honor.
Yes, I'm like, no, man, that's not how it works. Like, regardless of who fights, if I live, I win, and it doesn't matter how I did it.
Right.
So, yeah, that was the main issue I had with him. But apart from that, like, that's expected of Halo. Certain species, depending on the species, they have stereotypes, and he lived up to that stereotype. And I was like, yeah, that's fine for that.
Yeah,
I kind of wish he had a better strategy. I wish he was a better leader, but I mean,
Right.
hey, for all we know, he was getting tricked also because of the secret ending.
Right.
Because he thought that Aatrox was dead, and we got to reveal this with the secret ending. So
And I will say, since you haven't played Halo Wars 2, Aatrox to me is a more interesting villain than Esherum. Esherum does give off those vibes that he's just a monkey mad, monkey smash, and
yeah.
but that's what his race is. Like they're called the brutes, okay? Like
Yeah.
it's in the name. But Aatrox, I feel like he has a very high level of intelligence where, yes, at the end of the day, he is a brute. He is vicious, similar to Esherum, who was his mentor for the Banished. But Aatrox hits different, though. And I think that's why they had that thing with the secret ending, which we'll get into towards the end. They want to save him for future projects. They're like, dude, Aatrox is very interesting. We're just going to insert Ape Man number 2 instead as the main villain and have him get taken care of by Master Chief, which it was fine. I think he was serviceable. He came in for a purpose. He's supposed to be the angry ape man.
He wanted revenge, practically. That's
He
all it
wanted
was.
revenge, yeah, and he wanted to prove like who was on top of the pyramid between him and Master Chief. So
Yeah.
I thought that was fine, and he did his job. I think that covers most of the characters. We talked about the weapon. We talked about Chief, Fernando. I guess right now we could talk before we get into the legendary ending, because I'm sure we're gonna say that for the end. What about the gameplay? Right, it's a video game at the end of the day. What did you think? Yeah.
I was a little bit 50-50 with that. The vehicles sadly were the early vehicles, like the ATV, the car,
the mongoose and the warthog.
Yeah, all of these felt useless. They didn't really matter. The new weapons were amazing, like the commander or the commando. I can't remember the name.
Are you talking about the one that's like kind of like a battle rifle, but it shoots like single burst? Okay, yeah. The commando, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lightning gun also that was really cool.
Shock rifle, right?
Shock rifle. So the weapon were amazing. Some of the classic one, the new one were really good. Everything was great. The vehicles were underwhelming because you had the tactical harpoon thing.
The grapple hook. The grapple.
Yeah, the tactical grapple hook. And if you upgraded that to the max, it practically became the way to traverse the terrain. Oh, there's a big mountain in front of me. Zoop, going all the way up.
That honestly, that's probably the best addition into the gameplay that I'm 100% behind. They could include that in every Halo game, and I'll be fine with it.
And I feel like that was the only reason I even beat the final boss, because harpoon. Yeah, the harpoon, you're able to paralyze enemy when you hit them.
That thing is so versatile. You can stun enemies. You can pull things towards you, weapons, explosives.
That's the fun part. There will be explosive like basket or like a container, and it'll be at the distance. Instead of running into fire to grab it, you could just use the grapple hook, grab it towards you, and then throw it. That wasn't the best thing to do. Oh, you're out of ammo and there's a weapon at the distance of running, just use the grapple hook, grab the weapon. Oh, you don't want to fight this enemy, use the grapple hook to just Spider-Man your way out of
you could essentially
you Spider-Man your way out of the enemies, like, which was awesome. Like, so the other moves like the shield became useful in certain scenarios.
Oh, the deployable shield.
Yeah, the deployable shield, because I maxed that out also. That became extremely useful in certain scenarios, and I know playing in a higher difficulty later on might make it necessary.
I think it's gonna be necessary for sure. Yeah,
it's gonna be necessary, but the other moves were just okay. There was like
the threat sensor. I wasn't. You used it in one area because it was dark.
Yeah, the sensor.
The thrust where you dash.
The thrust, the sensor was right. The thrust was, and that's all I remember because I didn't really use them.
Yeah, the only other one was the like upgrading your shield, like your shield in general. Which obviously is good. It's better to have more shield.
Yeah, but
definitely the grappling hook was the best.
Grappling hook was the W. Yeah, that's all I can say. It was the W. Early on, I stopped using vehicles. Yeah, I could grab a tank and roll into a place and blow it up, but I would do that if it happened to be near the spawning point for the tank. But if it was a distance away and there was a mountain in between us, the tank is not going to go over a ditch. And because of the way the game is designed, the ring that you see in the background, it was broken, so it was splintered, and there was a canyon in multiple places in the ring. But if you fell down that canyon, you fell into space because the ring was broken. Yes, it was getting fixed as the game was going through, but the point is, if you have a tank, it's impossible to go from point A to B without having issues.
Right. No, I get it. It's the terrain was designed in a weird way.
It was designed not to use the vehicle. They wanted you to use the grappling hook. That's what I felt like.
Yeah, I felt more comfortable using the grappling hook to traverse everywhere compared to getting in a vehicle. And like the one time I would use a vehicle and it was unconventional was to get like a vehicle filled with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5, the vehicle that could house 5 Marines in the seat. And if there's a base that I want to go in and raid and capture, I just drive that thing straight into the middle, like kamikaze style.
And you just drop off and you let them distract the enemy as you're cleaning out.
And Exactly. That's the one time I would use vehicles to really, I never use the Warthog because I'm not relying on the AI to use the gunner seat or drive for me. Hell no. Yeah. Which it's definitely interesting how they utilize the mechanics in Halo Infinite's open world. I think it's their first open world, and that's why I did have problems with it, but I'm willing. What?
It had a lot of problems. There were certain things like in the older game, because it was linear, they could tell the AI you go from point A to point B. It's easy to do. But in this game, the AI sometimes acted stupid because they didn't know where to go.
Right. One thing that I wasn't a fan of was kind of like what you mentioned, the AI. They need to work on the AI. The AI cannot do practically anything. You can't trust them. Getting as far as just them getting into a vehicle is so difficult. Or
getting out of the way of a vehicle falling on top of their head.
You know how many times that happened? Every time I called in a vehicle, it just conked on the head. They go flying off in the direction of like a mountain or something. It was just wild. I didn't understand what that year of development time was being put towards, which I'm guessing
it was to fix the graphic.
Right.
For casual people, I just remember another, I guess, series that did the same thing. Think of the Sonic movie. The way the original character in the Sonic movie looked like and the new one that we got, that's practically what they did in Halo. The original character looked like garbage, so they had to wait an entire year to rework the graphic and every little thing, because we only seen a portion of the game in the trailer. So most likely the rest of the game was as bad. So
right.
I mean, that's what they spend the year doing. So it's the first game. It's the first game that's open world. I'm giving them a pass. It's not gonna be perfect. It's the first open world game they did also.
Right.
But it's fine. Now, on the sequel, if you disappoint me twice, then we have an issue.
And that's where I'm willing to cut them some slack, because this is their biggest Halo that I would say that they ever made.
Yeah, it is.
And in terms of what they're trying to create, open world, there's been Halo 3 ODST, you could say, was open world to a degree, because it was, you go around a large map.
But it was empty. It was more you by yourself. The other soldiers did not really follow you. Like it was.
Well,
like
there weren't any soldiers to follow you. There was just the enemies in the.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And there's and you would go to each location, trigger a level, and
I hated that game so much.
well, and our tier list in the future, whatever. We'll talk about which one.
It's right there with Reach, my dude.
But I am willing to give them a pass. It's their first one. Yeah. The parts that they did well, I think they did very well. I liked it. And how do you call it? I like that they did well. It's just the parts that I didn't like. It was frustrating because
if you had a vehicle, the enemy would automatically jump into the vehicle, or if you jump into the passenger seat, they would drive for you. You had no issue. In this game, the AI kind of just did not know what to do. If it was happening in the immediate area, they acted like regular soldiers. They were like, "Oh, enemy, shoot enemy, boom, we're done." But if it was you having to travel a long distance, good luck with that.
Right. The glitches in this game, very, very annoying. I'm sure we were on the game chat when they would happen to me. I would be like, I cannot trigger the next sequence in the main story because I can't kill the final enemy. Where's the final enemy? I don't see him. Where's he at? And he's off glitched into high heaven on some other part of the terrain. And
that actually happened to me also with this exact same boss, where he ran off and I was chasing him, and thank God I was able to keep up on him because I knew where you found him. I ended up finding him in the same place. He was not stuck. Yeah, he was not stuck completely, but he was kind of moving around the same place, like in a circle. because usually those enemy come after you, but he kind of ran off into a distance.
Yeah.
And because there's no marker on top of his head. If you had not told me where it was,
you would have been just as lost.
And right after that fight, you were supposed to get into the Pelican.
Yeah, the Pelican.
To fly off. I saw an enemy. I foolishly decided to chase after him to get his gun, and there was no marker to tell me where the Pelican was. So imagine my idiot self stuck in an open wall, running around in circle, and I had to do that circle where you make the circle smaller, but you keep running in circle. If that makes sense. Almost yeah. I was doing that, and I was going the outer layer, and I went more inside to find the Pelican. That's how I found it, because I had a general idea where it was, but I had no idea because it was a ship graveyard. So there were multiple ships in the area
they all looked
that were not the ship that you needed. And I was like, God damn it, dude. Like, I spent a good 10 minutes running around looking for this goddamn ship. All you needed to do is point a marker on the map saying, hey, go over there. But instead, they put the marker in the general location where it was supposed to be. So that was the two most annoying point for me in the game. Those two just...
And not only that, some of the level design too that we talked about. The level design, it seems very like in the other Halo games, because of that linear structure,
it was diverse.
It was very diverse. Like, you remember oh my god, what's the name of that level? The in Halo 3, when you go into that flood infested High Charity, you go into High Charity and the grave mine is like infected everything. You remember that level. It was designed and it was beautiful. It was ugly, but that was the intent. But in this game, like, just the design of some areas, it has no identity. It all looks the same.
The entire map were trees and grass, and we know that's BS because the ring has different
like ecosystems. There's deserts, mountains, snowy peaks.
Mountain, there's all that.
They have a lot, and to see them, like, when they force you into linear sections in the campaign, they don't do anything with it. It's just Forerunner architecture, which is fine. But it's like, like, I don't know.
It was basic. We know what the Forerunner looked like. It's just a building with a wall and then all look blue or gray. That is it. That's all it was. So in terms of level design, they dropped the ball on it 100%.
Right.
Dropped it, but my excuse, and I know it's a bad excuse, is that they were stuck in one portion of the ring the entire time.
There's that. Yeah.
We're stuck in one portion of the ring. The ring was broken. Their job was trying to fix, in a way, the broken ring, or trying to figure out what they were doing in that specific location.
Right.
And we know, based on the end credit, they got teleported somewhere else at the end. So in the next game, we should see something different. And the next game, the ring should not be broken like it was in the first game.
Right. At least the portion that we're on right now.
Exactly. The portion that we're on right now, or where we left off at the end of this game. So.
Right. Which, I mean, hey, you already brought it up. I think for the most part, we've covered the gameplay. There are aspects we really liked, aspects we want them to improve on. Open world, I'm here for it. Just make it better, make it different terrains and styles and whatnot. Give better level design. Fix the glitches, for God's sake.
And I'll say it till I die. I hate the fact that the trees are not destructible. If I have a goddamn tank, I should be able to run over everything on the map.
You want full Far Cry destructibility.
Exactly. Like, I ran into a shrub and my thing just tipped over. I'm like, what the hell is going on, my man? This is a tank. I'm not supposed to go into a battlefield confidently if there's a shrub, and I'm like, oh snap!
Especially,
like, Pokemon, I don't have cut yet, so I can't cut that shrub. So let's go back the other way.
Especially with how the tank is just so big, and you're gonna be bumping into a lot of trees because trees are everywhere, and you're gonna be like, oh, bumped into a tree. I don't have cut. Let me go in reverse, turn around. Yeah. It's what is, but the foundation is there. I like it. Make it better. I'm here for it. Halo Infinite gameplay, overall pretty good. So we want to wrap things up with the secret ending. I think that's a perfect spot because that just leads into what we expect in the future, and at least in terms of the story. So there's technically two parts for the ending, right? So Master Chief, he defeats the Harbinger, and the Harbinger is confirmed to be an Endless, which is the new enemy faction, which she looks almost Forerunner a little bit with how like her face is, but I don't know.
She could have just been part of the Endless group, but she's not a precursor. Because the Endless is just
maybe
right. It's just a Endless at the end of the day. It's just a fraction. It's a group. We don't know. It could be the same way. The Covenant wasn't just the elites. There were the grunts. There were the other species, the jackals. All of these were part of the Covenant.
Right.
So it could be that she's part of the group, or it's possible that the Primordial, or whatever his name was, I can't remember anymore.
The Primordial.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe the Primordial did his magic mind stuff and said, "I'm smarter than you, so join me." And she was like, "Shit, that makes sense, bro. Let's go."
It could be. You never know. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, we know she's Endless. She's dead now. You defeat her, but her grand plan was a success despite her defeat. And her plan was Atriox. Her Atriox is on some other part of the ring, and he has this device, and you see this in the end credits scene. He's going over to a device, and he has another thing in his hand, and he puts it's like a key. It's like a key, and he puts it in the device, and then something starts waking up. We don't see what it is, but it's heavily implied that it's the Endless.
Time to look up something else.
Right, exactly. And that's the end credit ending scene. All Halo games, for the most part, have legendary endings.
Exactly.
And this one, the legendary ending is the same exact scene that we just described, but it has added dialogue in it. And the added dialogue essentially is like kind of like a flashback. Like it's showing the same cutscene, but there's dialogue as the scene is happening. And it's dialogue from like when the Forerunners were alive, and they're talking about how they were going to exile or banish the Endless. And there's this guy called the something Didact, because there's a normal Didact, and then there's just a Serper Didact, whatever. It's a brand new Didact character, and he's basically saying, we are going to lock these things away, whoever the Endless, history, time will forget them eventually, and no one will remember who they are.
In other words, this is the equivalent of putting trash under your bed because you think you're not gonna see it, but eventually it starts stinking up, and you're like, "Oh snap! I have to deal with it now." And that's what happened. And
it's something where, before we finish that off, the fact that they are introducing a new it's kind of 50-50. They're introducing a new faction into the lore that they're claiming is worse than the Flood. The Flood has always been the by-all end-all, like, fear of the Halo mythos. Yeah, you have
Endless. They have no fear. There's no fear of resist. Like, if you shoot them, they're just not gonna back up. They just keep waving and piling on top of you.
The Flood,
zombies.
right?
Yeah, they're zombies. That's what it is. Is space zombies.
Space zombies, but they're space zombies that their lore is very interesting.
They're intelligent. They can fly a ship. So.
Very intelligent. They can. I mean, the different terminologies like grave mind, key mind. We could be here all day. We kind of have been, in a way, just like spieling over the lore. But that's how Halo gets us. The lore and the story is so good. But yeah, that's always been the thing. The Flood have always been the worst fear in the entire universe. Now with Halo Infinite, they're basically saying this new faction is worse than the Flood. And they're saying it in a way where it's like the reason why they've never been mentioned is because they've just been locked away, like in more remote locations than the Flood.
People just forget about them.
And people just forgot about them because, and the thing is, they are in a way more dangerous because in the lore they've established they're immune to the rings. So if worst case scenario, they're like, okay, we got to defeat the Endless. Let's fire the rings, and because the rings kill all sentient life in the universe, in the galaxy.
That's what I want to know. How did they survive? Why are they immune?
They're immune. The Endless are immune to the ring fires, and that by itself is busted because the Flood is not immune to the ring fire. They can die from it. It's just the ring fire will not completely kill the Flood. You have to kill their food source and blah blah blah. With that's a whole nother spiel. But the Endless are immune, and the Forerunners saw that, and they're like, "Yeah, that's dangerous. They need to be. If we can't kill them, we are locking their asses up
and throwing away the key. Which I'm sure maybe there's audio logs or something in Halo Infinite. Maybe there is, and we just never saw it. But maybe there's something explaining, how the Forerunners even locked these things up, what they even look like, what they are. Were they like a civilization kind of? Were they like a civilization that just got cucked from the Forerunners or whatever? But yeah, Atriox, he's opening that key, that gate, that door, that lock, whatever. Endless are coming back, and you've been alluding to it this entire time since we've been here, but the voice that is narrating this scene saying like, we're gonna lock the Endless away, blah blah blah. He closes us off for the campaign for Halo Infinite by saying, deploy offensive bias. Yeah.
If you've just been playing the regular games, that name's gonna be like, oh, that's a cool name. He's offensive and he's biased.
And they can bias, offensive bias. Those are really cool names. They must be regular grunts. Yeah, it's a grunt.
It's a grunt, yeah. But Halo aficionados, Halo connoisseurs know offensive bias is the most powerful AI construct from the Forerunners back when they were alive. And offensive bias was constructed in response to the Forerunners' previous AI, Mendicant bias, getting infected by the Flood.
Yeah.
And that was during the Forerunner Flood War. And I mean, that lore is intricate by itself. But
just to give you an idea, it's important to let people know that the Forerunner technology is still light years further ahead than the technology they have today. So even though we have Cortana and we have AIs today, those AIs are equivalent of a baby going against Stephen Hawking. That's what
Stephen Hawking is the biases.
The medicated and offensive bias. That's Stephen Hawking going to a kindergarten class and the kindergartner challenging him in physics, astrophysics.
Cortana's challenging him in a kindergarten class.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. Their AIs are extremely intelligent. And again, going into like the lore, like Mendicant bias was infected by the Flood, and you're like, well, how does an AI construct get infected by a parasite? Again, the lore is very rich. They call it the logic plague, where the Flood basically debates the AI into betraying their masters. It's crazy.
Because
it's
the
crazy.
Flood absorb information. That's their main goal. They just absorb everything. If they absorb a pilot, they know how to fly a ship. They absorb a couple million scientists, and they're as smart as a couple million scientists combined. That's how smart they are. And even if they absorb a planet full of dummies, if you have 12 million dummies, eventually you're gonna hit gold with a genius.
Exactly. No, you're right. At some point, yeah. And it's I mean, we in the final boss fight against the Harbinger, which the boss fights, I think they did really good in this game. We didn't touch on that just really quickly.
The boss fight, the Harbinger boss fight,
it was okay.
It was good until the last portion where, like I mentioned earlier, with the grappling hook, you had to kind of cheese it with the grappling hook, where you had to stun her, because she did fire those electrical balls towards you that tracked you. And if one of them hit you, it was half your HP. The second one hit you, you were dead.
You're dead, yeah.
So you had to stun lock her non-stop. And stun locking, if you don't know the term, mean you constantly stunning the enemy using a game mechanic. And that's why you're forced to
In this case, is your grappling hook. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was it. But still.
but during that fight, you have the weapon, basically saying, she's trying to make a connection with someone, but there's someone in here helping me break that connection. I don't know who it is. And at the end of the day, you don't learn what that was helping the weapon in your fight with the Harbinger.
Because she was trying to free Fernando that was captured and tortured for a couple hours. Yeah, homie was broken by the time we got him, but he seems to be.
Homie was broken, and actually, that reminds me, just really quickly, I did like that scene with Master Chief, where he rescued that Spartan that was being tortured, and he has like this silent expression, like when
you don't see his face, you don't ever see it, but you know that he was angry, he was fuming. He's like, "Let's go."
Let's go. I'm sick of this war.
Thing with me, yeah,
but yeah.
And also, I know in the next game it's gonna start with him having nightmares and waking up in sweat. I know this.
Yeah, man. Those banished in Covenant, they torture people. But yeah, going back to the Harbinger in that fight, there was an entity helping her, and I'm sorry, not helping her. There was an entity helping the weapon fight the Harbinger, which was the final boss. That entity,
I thought it was Cortana, but
I thought it was Cortana a little bit, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, wait, no, she doesn't recognize who it is. And at that point, again, they don't confirm it, but all fingers point, especially with that secret ending, to offensive bias. Offensive bias was the AI helping Cortana. Which, by the way, real quick, the weapon is a copy of Cortana. Right.
It's new Cortana because it's implied that she called herself Cortana anyway at the end of the game. So
she has a name. She has a name. She's going to name herself. Whether or not it's, I feel like that would be too offensive to call her Cortana again. Just Cortana 2, because Cortana's replaceable, right? But I mean, she is a copy. She is like literally and figuratively, she is a copy of Cortana.
She's a clone. Yes, she's a direct clone.
She's a direct clone, direct copy of Cortana. So Cortana, the original Cortana, she's done. She's dead. They're moving on to this new AI, which is the weapon, who will have a name at some point. But I just wanted to mention that because I know we didn't mention it. But the weapon, offensive bias. And again, once you defeat the boss, everything starts exploding around you. You have no way to escape. All of a sudden, boom, portal opens up. Chief says, "What's this portal? Who opened it?" And the weapon's like, I don't know. I don't know. Just go in. We're gonna die here if you don't. Just jump in, and you end up on the opposite side of the ring, that where the game takes place, and now it's at this point it's a free for all, because wherever you got teleported, it's a place offensive. First off, offensive bias is the one that opened the portal for you. That's all fingers point to offensive bias.
The only weird thing is you need to mention they were teleported 3 days ahead, and I'm not sure.
It was like 3 or 5 days, right? Like one of those.
3 to 5 days, and I'm not sure if you noticed that because you could have missed that in the game. They were teleported around those ring thingy. And
the rings. Yes,
you can again. It's a ring inside of the ring, the major ring. By the way, for the people watching,
right?
There's be a smaller ring design in the game. I'm not sure if you scan one of those rings in the original map, but if and they make a point of saying that it's older technology.
Yes.
The Forerunner, which it would explain that it's most likely precursor and all of those things. So it's, again, Foreigners were using even more advanced technology than what is being used. So
exactly.
I mean, what is currently being used, like it's mind blowing. Like, so
I'm telling you, man, the endless are precursors.
Technology over there, dude. Like, yeah, I'm excited for that because they need to explain the time travel.
Yeah, they were gone. They were MIA for 3 to, I think it was like 3 to 5 days, less than a week, almost a week.
It was less than a week, but again, if they mess with time travel, I mean, this is something that could come up in the future game. They can, in a way, time travel, or where they stuck somewhere and they just don't realize that
maybe they were
there. And they met somebody, but the person just dumped them there after a couple of days and said, "I'm done with you." But
right, it's possible. They just wake up there, and because it seemed almost instantaneous for them. They jump through, and then Chief is like stumbling on the floor as if he just jumped through right there. But the weapon tells him, no, we've been MIA for like almost 5 days, 5 days. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. A lot of fingers point to where they're at right now is an endless detainment facility, which it would make sense because if it's offensive bias that's something there, he would bring them there because it's like, okay, I've seen them fight the Harbinger. I know they can handle good fights, and we need to stop this monkey man Atriox from waking up the endless. But oh my god, so many good things. Halo Infinite was good.
It was, and we only got just a portion of the game because I know I haven't found most of the dialogue, so we still have more of the dialogue to find for both the UNSC and the Banished. I know there's a couple other stuff there that we haven't seen. I'm excited for it, honestly.
Right. No, I am too. I'm sure as we we just wanted to cover like the main campaign, the main meat, but we're
difficult to do because there is some stuff that are done in the side story that you needed to understand the main campaign, like the mini rings and like the mini ring they were teleported around to, and in the end credit. If I had just not stumbled into that place when I was in the open world, that would have not triggered my memory at the end. I would be like, dude, this is the same design ring as the other ring that's more advanced in foreigner technology. That's a little detail that is just out in the open world that the average player probably miss. I just happened to be running around and I was like, oh, let me scan this. And that was it.
And it's mind-blowing once you learn.
Yeah.
Right. I'm telling you, Halo Infinite is great. If you have it on Game Pass, give it a shot. Is it worth $60? I mean, yeah, I would say it is.
If you're gonna take advantage of the multiplayer, I'm more
because the multiplayer is free, so you're paying $60 for just the campaign.
I'll just say if you're a big Halo fan, it's definitely worth $60. If you're a newer player, I would say wait for a price drop. Instead, go play the previous games first. They did remake the previous games, so even though they're old, they have brand new graphic, which you can switch in and out of, which is really cool. So you can see how the old game was. So I would say go play the older game if you did not want to pay the $60, because I know the collection you can easily pick it up for $20 now. Yeah,
it's super cheap. That comes with Halos like 1 through 4, and then
ODST.
You have to pay extra for ODST and Reach. They're like extra, but they're like $5 a piece.
It's not that really. It's chump change.
It's chump change. It's a meal at McDonald's, as one would say.
Keep eating at McDonald's for a day.
Yeah. But I guess like score wise, if I'm gonna drop a score for Halo Infinite, it's somewhere between an 8 and a 9. I want to say 8 just because the bad in there, it's really annoying, like the glitches, some of the mechanics in the game. I feel like they didn't flesh it out. The level design, not really the level design, because the design of the levels is okay. It's just the art direction. The art direction is what I mean. The identity of it. But and if it just had those areas fixed, I could see it being in the 9 to close to 10 range. I think the best Halo is Halo 3. Yeah, I think Halo 3 is the best one.
Man, I give it a solid 9 just because of the story. It got me interested even more in the story compared to the last 2 games. So just because of that, that's a way to pull me back into the series. Because Halo 4 and 5 did not do their good job. This one, they came out with a W, so I feel like it's worth them realizing we were up there, we think to the bottom, and we just climbed back up. That's pretty impressive.
I think that's commendable too. Like seeing the state
to Halo 5, it's a big jump what they did.
Yeah, seeing the state Halo was in after Halo 5, because Halo 5 was just utter trash, and at that point, people had little hope of where the series was gonna go with 343 developing the game. So to see them make such a jump from the travesty of Halo 5 to where Halo Infinite is now, regardless of my gripes with Halo Infinite, it's what I like. I really, really like, and I cannot say the same about Halo 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That's commendable on its own. Like and that's what makes me kind of push towards the 9 area, because I like the open world elements, most of them. I like how they made such a jump back to improving the game. Just good things, good things all around with Halo Infinite. But I wanna say we've covered everything. We've been going on for a while. I didn't even realize it.
It's Halo, my man. Like, the lore is too complicated, and that's the sad part. Like, if we were to sit down and talk about the entire lore of Halo and just go over everything that we enjoyed, we'll be there all night.
Hours. Like, then.
Yeah. And I'm sure we missed some part too, because it's just 2 of us. If we had other people that were more into the lore than we did, that had read every comic, we're just still amateurs in a way.
We would, I don't even consider myself like a really like expert on everything Halo lore wise.
Yeah.
I still have a good knowledge of it, but I mean, there's just so much. We barely scratched the surface over what theories we think the story's gonna go in, what characters we're gonna meet. Again, the Arbiter, my boy, the Arbiter wasn't in here. I wanted to see him.
That's right. That's why we need the encyclopedia, so we can flex on people. We forgot key characters, because the Arbiter, he's roaming around wondering, yo, Chief is dead. Because as far as he knows,
he would know. He would think he's dead, and they're good. Yeah. They're war buddies. They're good friends.
Yeah, they were enemies. They were rivals. We became best friend in a way, because they were both soldiers.
Right. Oh my God, one of the best bromances in video games.
Yes.
Oh, the Chief and Arbiter. But hey, there you have it, folks. You have our thoughts on the gameplay, the open world, the story, the mythos. Let us know what you all think of Halo Infinite. Have you played it? By the time this podcast comes out, it's been like about a week or so, a little over a week since the campaign has dropped. At that point, most people have at least played the main story. Did you guys like the direction 343 took the game in? Do you like the gameplay of this one? I will say one last thing. In terms of identity, I don't like how, like, for a lot of the weapons and a lot of the vehicles, it's just copy and paste of stuff from the originals. So like the vehicles, there's hardly any new vehicles whatsoever. Yes. The Covenant vehicles are just Banshee, Ghost, Wraith, and a Chopper, I guess. The Chopper was from Halo 3. And then
the bicycle.
That's the bicycle.
Yeah,
that was
really that one.
Yeah, I didn't like that one too much, but it was a fan favorite in Halo 3. But and then on the human side, it's the Mongoose, the Warthog, Tank, not the Pelican, but the Wasp, the flying.
The flies, right? Yeah, the flying helicopter that was introduced like Halo. It wasn't introduced in the later game.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking.
Yeah, I think it was. There was a version of it called the Hornet in Halo 3, and then they had a different version of it in Halo 4 and 5. But it's a new flying vehicle, but it functions basically the same. You have a machine gun, you have missiles. Simple, done. So in terms of that, I'm like, you guys didn't introduce anything new. At least Halo 4 and 5, they introduced the Mantis. That's one of the coolest vehicles on the UNSC side. The bipedal like mech thing that they jump into.
I remember.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised they didn't give us that either.
Yeah, like it's I don't know. I feel like every Halo, aside from the story and multiplayer, it's also defined by its weapons, its vehicles. And I think even though they have some new weapons here and there, I feel like they could have done a little bit more with what we had. But overall, still great game, still great story. But yeah, let us know what you all think in the comments below, wherever you hear us on. Share it around if you agree, or if you want to give us a listen on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Twitter, Facebook. We're on every social media platform, so there should be no excuse as to why you can't give us a listen, unless you hate us. But if you got this far, I'm assuming you don't hate us, unless you're a masochist. But whatever.
That's okay.
That's okay. We don't judge. We don't kink shame at all here at the table.
A little bit.
A little bit. Oh man, but there you have it, folks. Check out Halo Infinite. Let us know your thoughts, and yeah, that concludes our table talk for Halo Infinite's campaign and single player. I am your Yonkō host, DrJaceAttorney, and fellow Supernova Toasty, signing off. Take care, guys, and don't forget to finish the fight.